welcome to our Tuesday edition of the program Frontier Opening Bell, and I am Temple Ashaju. On the show today, we have Chima Okadike joining us in Lagos from Vetiva Capital Management. Chima, thanks a great deal for coming through. Bosin Omofaye, our executive editor and regular on the show, is also here with us this morning. Bosin, it's good to have you on the program. Let's make start with the market indices from yesterday, where the Nigerian exchange was negative by 0.19% to T of the week on a negative note. The BRVM stock exchange in Ivory Coast was also negative by some 0.65%. Egyptian stock exchange was down as well, 0.30%. The Kenya Stock Exchange was about the only market that the Nairobi Stock Exchange in Kenya, beg your pardon, was about the only market that opens the week on a good note, 0.12%. The South African market, where the Johannesburg Stock Exchange is domiciled, opens the week also negative 0.61% as the rand, of course, nosedived in reaction to the lockdown in that region. Now let's look at the Eastern African markets headlines before us this morning. UNCTAD World Report is out, says FDI, foreign direct investments to Africa, dipped by some $7 billion to 40 billion dollars in 2020. In Kenya, Treasury appoints committee to implement Capital Market Authority master plan. The Capital Market Authority has also just granted 5 coffee brokers license to trade on the NCE. DP World, Somaliland, opened new terminal at Berbera Port. And Merge Exchange, you have operates Austin Fund 1 LP, posting some $24,666.67 revenue for the year 2020. Let's start with you, Bosin, getting your thoughts on these headlines, beginning perhaps with the UNCTAD report as it relates to the FDIs in Africa.
Well, I defer to you, Temple, but again, let's say I like the cup of coffee. So I like the story around the coffee brokers licenses in Kenya by the commodity exchange, by the Nairobi Commodity Exchange, which is the NCE. I think that's a very good thing, getting the equities market running and getting the commodities market also running as well. So that's quite some good news. As far as the FDI is concerned, $7 billion down to $40 billion. Let's just give that to the year 2020 and just put it behind us. But when you break that figure down, you find out that some countries such as Nigeria got very much lower size of that particular inflows into the continent last year. DP World and Somaliland, we all know DP World, that's based in the United Arab Emirates, one of the largest, if not the largest in the world, in terms of seaport, logistics, management, and what have you. And teaming up with Somaliland to open this new terminal at Berbera Port tells you how the Horn of Africa, which is Somaliland, and Eritrea, and the rest are positioning because of their location to China, to the Middle East, and the rest of the Asia-Pacific region. So that is one good positioning. That is one good. Keep an eye on these guys as well. They'll be taking a whole lot of logistics and goods coming into Africa. China could as well dump some of those things there. India, whoever, they'll find their way down to Ethiopia and all the way down to Nigeria and the rest of Africa without going all the round through the port of South Africa and all of that. Good news, by the way. Then, of course, the CMA. I'm sure Chima will look at that as well. Temple, we have in Nigeria already the Capital Market Master Plan. Now, the Finance Ministry. The good thing which I'm seeing about this in Kenya is that they are getting the Ministry of Finance and the government involved in their own Capital Market Master Plan. So that seems a bit different from the one in Nigeria, which is only the SEC that is running it. It is the Ministry of Finance. So it is the capital market and the government that are actively running the master plan for the capital market in East Africa's largest economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bosun. Chima, would you like to speak to the FDI report and perhaps the capital market master plan in Kenya that Bosun just deferred to you?
Well, I was going to just defer to Boston on the Capital Markets Authority coming up with a committee for the CME master plan. But what one thing I can say on that is I think it's a very good move. We know that the success of many economies will depend on how robust or how liquid or how inclusive your capital markets are going forward in the coming years. So bringing up or coming up with a plan that accounts for all these inclusivity that small and big firms are likely to see to be able to be encouraged to maybe list or continue to actively participate in these markets. I think it's a very good thing. It's good progress, and we love to see.
Right, and thanks a great deal. Let's move on now to the West African and Nigerian market headlines. NGX in Nigeria rebrands market indices, changes prefixes from NSE to NGX. Champs completes balance sheet restructuring exercise. ABC Transport projects 9.76 million naira profit in third quarter of this year. B2 Gold Canadian company in arbitration with Mali over denial in mining license. His Excellency Akufo-Ado speaking at AIMAfrica conference between today and tomorrow, June 29th and 30th. ITFC signs 5-year deal for the Gambia's trade, agriculture, and energy sectors. We'll start with you again, Chima, on these corporate headlines before us, and perhaps Boson will be able to give us an insight into IMS Africa conference.
Okay, so for the first one, you spoke on NGX rebranding the market indices. We all know that recently the NSC rebranded into a holdco structure, and with the NGX being the exchange stock exchange arm. So I think this is just in line with the whole rebranding exercise that the firm has undergone, changing NSE. So if you look at the NSE price list index, um, you NSE price list, you'd see the NSE ASI is now NGX ASI, and a whole lot of other indices have been, changed to fit this new brand that company has decided to rebrand to. So I think it's just in line with what their plan is, and you know, that's basically it. For the Chams restructuring, I know that Chams, which is an IT company, has is focused on e-payments and business solutions, IT driven business solutions. I know that they tried to restructure their firm, their operations, their business model around 2018 through changing human capital and changing business model where they started to focus more on private sector clients, IT needs of private sector clients, because before then, Champs had been more focused on the government end of IT needs. They had gotten high profile projects such as the voter cards project, the BVN project, and a whole lot of other projects. But around 2016 or so, we saw that after they had built their first, the largest digital hub, Champ City Digital, which was supposed to help the NIMC in national ID registration. People were supposed to be able to just walk into the digital center and easily register for their national ID card. But due to some circumstances, that was stopped, and the company suffered a huge loss. So restructuring away from focus on government to more private, placing premium on more private clients was, I think, at the time quite necessary. So what we're seeing now is another restructuring, this time for the balance sheet, so that the company can be able to write off some of its losses that it had incurred over the past, I think, 2 years. So I think this is something quite positive for the firm. I think that given the current phase where we are now and how important technology has become, a lot of people are awakening to the very important position technology holds in the economy and in society. So I think with both restructurings that they have undergone so far, I think Champs is well suited to take off into the next year, and post significant progress in revenue and other um, operating activities. For the ABC Transport projects. I if we look at ABC's previous results, we can see you will see the company was loss making in 2020, and this is mainly due to the COVID-19, the COVID restrictions. A lot of people, there was lockdown, a lot of people were in their homes. There was insecurity about, and people could not really travel, and restrictions and all that stopped people from traveling. So that really, I think, really affected their transport business. But with the reversal of the lockdown at the time, we saw that people started to travel more, and also when the airlines came back online, we saw that with the COVID restrictions, they were unable to really um, allow a lot of people on each particular plane, which it led to increased fares so that they could make their profits. But I think with that development, it should have driven some traffic from the airplanes to the road transport operators. However, if we look at APC Transport's margins, it has only grown from about 15 to 25%. That's gross margin, and net profit margin is still way below, still below about 1%, which I think they could do a lot better than. However, I think that as the economy continues to improve and people start to travel more, we should see that affect their operations positively going forward.
Thank you very much, Chima, for all of these perspectives you've shared about these corporate companies listed on the Nigerian exchange there. I do hope that Chams, at least sometime soon, will be able to pay some dividends to investors or shareholders, because I'm not sure Chams has ever paid dividends ever since they got listed more than 10 years ago on the Nigerian exchange. Bosun, let's hear your thoughts on some of these headlines before moving on to the South African markets.
Yeah, quickly, the big event is the annual investment market Africa, which is taking place under the authority of the Ministry of Finance and the ruler of the United Arab Emirates in Dubai, and that is starting today. The Ghanaian president is a special guest of honor. He'll be speaking. He's been well promoted. These events about Africa are beginning to hold in Dubai. So, therefore, keep an eye on these things moving out of the continent. The Africa Oil Week, which is supposed to be in Cape Town, South Africa in November, first week of November, has been moved to Dubai as well. So, but again, well, let's leave that conversation for another day. But this is another big one for the Ghanaian president, who looks like is the latest poster boy on the continent right now, being invited left, right, and center. And it's run the country well, fairly well, at least from what we can see from the outside in terms of positioning the Ghanaian economy. Look at the kind of diaspora remittances that came in last year, $3.6 billion from Ghanaians in diaspora. That's a show of confidence in your economy, in your country, in the fiscal and monetary policy and political stability that is happening in your country. So I give it to President Nana Akufo-Ado, His Excellency, for that. I'm sure he's been making Africa proud, by the way. The deal between the International Islamic Finance Corporation, the ITFC, with the Gambia. If you know, Gambia is also largely an Islamic state in a manner of speaking in terms of dominance of religion. So coming through there with deals in trade, agriculture, and energy, despite the fact that tourism in the Gambia, West Africa, a very small country just around the edge of the West African sub-region, the tourism has been badly hit. Now they're focusing on energy, they're focusing on agriculture, they're focusing on trade. Again, the Gambia, like its neighbors, Equatorial Guinea and others, have another major advantage with Latin America, South America, with Europe because of their proximity, and of course, relationship with the northern part of the continent when you go around the Western Sahara and Mauritania up to the Mediterranean Sea. So the Gambia is well positioned, and this relationship is not just happening out of the blues. Everybody is trying to reposition under the pandemic. If tourism is not working for now, keep it, move on, and get other things harnessed, and just keep moving. Renew your potentials. Look at other sectors you've neglected over the years and keep them running fast tempo.
Many thanks, Bosun. Let's move on to South African markets. South Africa's consumer confidence falls 13 points from 9 points in uh, the first quarter. Rand weakens as JSE, that's Johannesburg Stock Exchange financials, shrunk by 2.26% on COVID lockdown. Anglo American has got thermal coal transition via sale in Cerrejon for $294 million. Glencore buys BHP Group Anglo American stakes in Cerrejon mine. In Zimbabwe, they are allowing the big miners to export a portion of their bullion. We'll start with you, Bosun, and see if we can get Chima to say one or two things about these headlines in the southern part of Africa as well.
Maybe I'm gonna leave this consumer confidence. Chima can look into that. She's a consumer goods analyst, so she knows how consumers' pocket really is all the time. She's the one who tells me how my consumer confidence is. So I'll give that to her. But if you look at the mining industry, the deal between with Anglo American is exiting coal businesses. Temple, everybody will know the pressure right now for clean energy. Banks, others are saying, look, let's everybody get out of dirty energy or dirty fuel, get into clean energy. So Anglo American selling down its stakes in Cerrejon, this is a transition out of coal entirely for about 294, nearly 300 million US dollars. Now that deal was picked up by Glencore. Glencore CEO is exiting in the next couple of days, I think in July. So he's making his last deal by buying this stake, which is between BHP and Anglo American in Cerrejon mine, and putting it on the books of Glencore, which is one of the world's largest copper mining and business. So that's what deal was all about. Good news for Zimbabwean gold mining firms, because the central bank made the announcement yesterday that now the government will allow the big mining firms who are digging for gold to sell a portion. And that they didn't indicate what the size of that is, of their gold output in Zimbabwe to export it directly outside the country. The whole idea is to allow this, is to try to tame gold smuggling in one way and allow these folks to, the miners, to also get some foreign exchange inflows independently into the economy without taking the entire gold from them and give them a market to sell to. So this is a bit of a liberalizing the gold market or the industry in Zimbabwe, as it were. Then, of course, yesterday was very not so good with the South African market. The rand fell against the dollar, against the euro, against the pound. The financials index fell mostly by 2.26% because of the reaction, initial knee-jerk reaction to the level 4 virus lockdown. Spoke with one of the big executive in investment firm in South Africa yesterday evening. It's not so good news, Temple. But again, they've been to lockdown level 4 before. So what this will mean moving forward, they're a bit optimistic that this level 4 will not hold for so long. But who knows how this variant, this level 3 of wave 3 in South Africa, COVID-19 will go. We're not too sure. But right now, tourism, hotel, casinos, and all of that, restaurants are going to get the most hit in SA.
True that, Bosun. Thanks a great deal for all of that today. You've just analyzed for us. Chima, anything to say to the consumer confidence shrinking in that country? I know it's not far from these COVID-19 lockdown measures as well.
Yes, you're right, Temple. It's not far from the reason for that, but there are some other factors that are driving this low consumer confidence. So, for example, like Nigeria, we can see higher food prices in South Africa, as well as higher energy prices, fuel prices. Those are two very important factors to consider when looking at consumer confidence. Comparing it to their income levels, food is very essential for individuals. A larger portion of consumers' income really goes to food. And then energy, fuel prices, for example, determine how easy or how expensive it is for consumers or individuals to transport themselves to their normal activities, be it work or other places. So those are very important factors, and these are you know those factors riding high kind of receive consumers' confidence. When we add this to the slow growth in employment levels, unemployment is still very high. when we add that to low growth and employment levels, we can see, a kind of recipe for disaster. So it's not very far-fetched to understand how, and many of these households that will probably be um, um, polled, many people, due to COVID-19, who have gone from middle income earners to low income earners, high income earners, and between middle and high. So many of these people have have been polled are really unable to are really unable to bridge the gap between what the um, COVID pandemic, the higher food prices and higher um, fuel prices would cost on their income. So I think that kind of explains why confidence has fallen, and I think it would depend on how fast vaccinations go and how you know fast the country is able to attain herd immunity, so that activities can go back to a normal level, and you can see production increase and affect food prices as well as fuel prices.
Thank you very much, Chuma Okadike. Let's head on now to the northern markets, which concerns the Tunisia, Morocco, and of course Egypt and the rest. MasterCard's SME Confidence Index says 73% of SMEs in Egypt optimistic about future growth. Recap gets financial regulatory authorities nods to cut capital to 2.5 billion Egyptian pounds from 5 billion Egyptian pounds. That's in Egypt. Nile City shareholders okay 200 million Egyptian pounds dividends for 2020 financial year. And in Sudan, they are rejecting Ethiopia's plan to fill Giant Dam a second time. Bosun, this is your very key area of interest. Let's hear your thoughts on
That's
this head.
it's very, it's very interesting point about the $4.4 billion Renaissance Dam on River Nile. This River Nile had always been contentious since the time of the pharaohs, by the way. So I think it's I don't know what's wrong, what's with that river, but very important because all the way from around Central Africa, where the source came from, all the way down to the Mediterranean. So it's cut across a number of countries, and Egypt is because it's at the end of where the Nile River ends up at the Mediterranean Sea. Then the Egyptians get this very close affinity to the Nile River. Then you have the Sudanese. Then you have the Ethiopians who are building this $4.4 billion dam. So the first one, the Ethiopians denied that they filled up the dam. Now they want to do it the second time. Sudan is saying no. Egypt is saying no. So we haven't seen the end of this particular dam issue, hydroelectric power dam that has reverberated all the way to Washington. You remember during the Donald Trump's administration, he was kind of a little bit leaning towards Egypt in a manner of speaking. Now that Sudan is out of its economic dismantling, and looks like things are looking back with the debt relief from the IMF, from the World Bank, from the EFDB, and the rest of the world, more money on the road, a handshake being extended to Sudan, new political leaders by Egypt. It looks like the odds are piling up against Ethiopia. The recap, getting the financial reporting authorities not to cut capital to 2.5 billion Egyptian pounds. A whole lot of share buyback, share reconstruction going on around the world. I saw a news item this morning on CNBC International whether this is going to hurt investors moving forward because of this share buyback. Is it weakening investors or shareholders' position? The jury is still out. The article is out. A very interesting one. Anyone can get their hands on it. I think Chima would want to bite into the SMEs.
Oh, true. Just quickly before we cross to Chima, I think it's a very key point that you mentioned that CNBC is discussing all of this share buybacks and the harm it could have on a lot of the companies, because there was another report recently that actually says the PEs, venture capitals, have been making a whole lot of exits, especially in the first quarter of this year, given the effect of the pandemic and how they've been able to roll out a whole lot of companies from the lockdown, back into stability. But then the back and forth of COVID-19 has also had its general effect on all of these companies. True that, Bosin. Thanks a great deal. Chima, your thoughts on the SMEs, MasterCard Confidence Index there before you give us a sense of what to watch out for in the markets today. I'm not sure we can hear you, Chima.
So I think I have just been unmuted. I was muted previously. Apologies. I was waiting to defer to
Okay, we can hear you now.
Watson on the SMEs story in Egypt. I'm not sure that I'm very familiar with that story, and it'd be interesting to note why that is, given, especially given the confidence story we just got out of South Africa, and knowing how consumer confidence is in Nigeria. It'd be interesting to see um, what Egypt is doing right. I think I'll just go straight into the updates or the expectation for the market. Lately, we've been seeing, or we have been seeing negative sentiments in the market. The market has been closing negative, and which is very surprising, especially when we look at the fact that today is 29th and we have just one more day to the end of the H1 period. So we should be seeing portfolio rebalancing and a rally to close out the half year of 2021. However, I would say that what the main driver of this negative sentiment is negative sentiment from Airtel. So previously we had seen positive sentiment from Airtel and Seplat. Basically, last year, as we saw investors try to repatriate their funds, foreign investors try to repatriate their
We,
funds. Can you still hear me?
we were struggling to hear you actually. We were thinking it would get better, but let's just leave it there. It would be a good point to actually uh, put it on hold there. Thanks a great deal, Chimao Kadike, consumer goods analyst with Vetiva Capital Management, for your insight, your analysis on all of these African headlines today. Really appreciated. Bosun Omofaye, executive editor here at Frontier Africa Reports. Thank you so much as well for joining us on the show this morning and analyzing some of these headlines for us. Really appreciated. This has been the show, a Tuesday edition of Frontier Opening Bell. I'm Temple Ashaju. We'll see you tomorrow again. Bye for now.